Hello everyone, welcome to Cheltenham Science Festival at home in association with EDF Energy and the FameLab UK Final! Yes, that is me pressing a cheering button on my sound effects board because rather than this event happening live on stage in one of the brilliant tents at Cheltenham Science Festival, we are of course coming at you from the internet, live from my spare room where it is just me sat here. So yes, hello, my name is Greg Foote. I am a science broadcaster on BBC TV and radio, also a YouTuber, podcaster and science communication trainer. I will be your host this evening. And yes, this is live. We have a live chat. I can see your live comments coming in right now. Trying to juggle all the tech as we go. It's going to be fine. What could possibly go wrong? If you're watching this and you're new to FameLab, I expect most of you know what FameLab is. But if you don't, FameLab is an international competition for researchers, lecturers, technicians, postgrads, anyone actively involved in science and engineering. It's all about finding and supporting the world's most talented new science communicators. It was created by Cheltenham Festivals and it's run internationally in partnership with the British Council. And since it started in 2007, more than 10,000 scientists and engineers have taken part. This, of course, is the 2020 FameLab UK final. And through various heats and through regional finals, we've narrowed the competition down from almost 200 applicants to 9 finalists. There they are. 9 of the UK's most charismatic and chatty scientists and engineers who will, tonight, be battling it out for the title of FameLab UK Champion 2020. Now, I say battling, but it will be much more friendly than that. Here is how it works. Each finalist will have 3 minutes to share their science in an engaging and entertaining way. But here's the thing. No slides or visuals are allowed. They can use props if they choose. Props are all good, but it's just them talking to us, talking to their camera for 3 minutes about their chosen science. Now, this is going to be watched by 3 judges. They will listen to the talk and then they'll have the opportunity to ask a follow-up question each. Then it's those judges who are going to choose who is going to be crowned the FameLab UK 2020 champion. That person will walk away with £2,000 to go towards advancing their science communication interests, and they will represent the UK in the FameLab International Final that is happening later this year. The judges will also name a runner-up who will bag themselves £1,000 to put towards something sci-commy. And there is an audience vote as well, which is where you come in. Yeah, you get to choose who to crown the FameLab UK 2020 audience favourite. They get £1,000 and they will know that they were your champion. That person can be the same person as the judges, runner-up or champion, by the way, right? The decisions are totally independent of each other. The audience vote will open after all finalists have performed, and we're not going to do like a big X Factor style, montage recap thing. So what I suggest is that you jot down your favourite as you go along, all right? So you know who to vote for. Right, that's the how it works bit. There's one more thing to tell you. Technology can be a right pain in the butt. Yes, we all know that. So we have actually pre-recorded our 9 finalists' presentations. Now look, before you throw your tea at the screen or jump in the live chat to vent, right, smash a beer bottle, let me explain, because the FameLab team have been working super hard to make this as fair as possible. So a couple of weeks ago, all 9 finalists and our 3 judges and myself, we jumped on a big old video call, and just as they would have done if they'd been on stage, they presented for 3 minutes as the judges listened. And then they took their follow-up questions. Now, this was great because it meant if the Wi-Fi was rubbish and the judges couldn't hear them or see them, then they could restart. That didn't actually happen because everyone's tech was fine, but better to be safe than sorry. But pre-recording is also good because it means that they could film themselves on their phones, right, at the same time, which means we get a higher quality series of presentations rather than it coming through a video call. Now, the judges deliberated after the final presentation. They made their decisions about the runner-up and the champion, but they did not tell the finalists, and they did not tell me. So tonight you will get 9 higher quality presentations from the finalists, and then all of us together will find out who wins. Plus, there is, of course, the audience vote, which you will decide. And to repeat, their voting for that does not open until after all of our 9 finalists have performed. And to give you some time to cast your vote, there's going to be a science quiz run by yours truly. It's be about 10 minutes, and then we're going to reveal the winners. We're going to reveal the winners by video calling them live. What could possibly go wrong? I've already got loads of videos to kind of play in and everything else. What could possibly go wrong? The quiz will have 3 quick rounds, I should say. The first is called Who Tweeted That? Can you identify a familiar Cheltenham Science Festival speaker from their 280 character tweet? Let me give you a sneak peek. So here's an example. Who is it? Which of those 3 tweeted that picture? And what is this, please? That's one of them, right? I'm going to show you this later on. There's a close-ups round, which is a little bit sciencey. And then there's an emojis discovery round, right, where I'm going to describe to you in emojis a science discovery, and you need to say what it is. Here's a quick clue. This is a more straightforward one, so hopefully you've got some ideas about that one. All right, so that will be happening later after all 9 performances. Right, it is time for me to take a breather. So much admin to get through, and introduce you to our judges.
Hi, I'm Dallas Campbell. I'm a television presenter. I'm a writer. I'm also a FameLab Masterclass trainer.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jess Parker, the co-CEO of the cybersecurity company Sygenta. I work on the human side of cybersecurity, so what I'm really passionate about is taking the technical, complicated aspects of cybersecurity and making them understandable, engaging and interesting for all.
Hi everyone, my name is Marieke and I'm the head of programming for the Cheltenham Science Festival, which means I put the festival together with a team of us from Cheltenham. And I'm a FameLab alumna, so I know what it's like to be on the other side, and it's much more fun being on this side.
Judges, what will you be looking for from our finalists? Let's start with Marieke.
So I'm going to be looking for the content. So for me, really great content is going to be a really good story. It's going to be potentially some original research, something that nobody else knows about, possibly something newsworthy. But basically, if it's got a really great story that's going to hook me in.
Great. Dallas?
You know, I think as a FameLab participant, you've got one job. You've got one job, and that is to make a connection with your audience, an authentic connection. You have to be yourself. And most importantly, you have to keep it simple and be nice and clear.
Brilliant. And last but not least, Jess, what are you looking for?
So I completely agree with Dallas that making an authentic connection is one of the most important things. And for me, that comes back to charisma. So I'm going to be looking at how you deliver the material and to what extent you really engage with the people you're communicating with.
All right, so there are our 3 judges. They've outlined how they're looking for that classic FameLab trifecta of content, clarity and charisma. It's about time we heard from our finalists' presentations. Hello to Carleen, watching from South Africa. If you just want a classic shout out, just let me know where you're watching from. Harley, looking forward to the quiz. Loads of people cheering on their finalists as well in the live chat. So it's time to hear from our first finalist. Now, tonight's order was chosen by random, and first up is Annie Howitt, a PhD student at the MRC Cancer Unit at the University of Cambridge. 3 minutes was put on the clock. Over to Annie.
Let's be honest, we all get hangry sometimes. You know, when you're really hungry, you maybe get a little bit angry, and then you start to make some decisions that you'd regret later. Now, we get hangry because of our metabolism, which just means what we eat and what we do with it. But on top of that, every cell that makes up your body has its own metabolism as well. And the cells that make up a tumour in cancer, they're hangry all of the time. And that's because they have a really different metabolism compared to me and you. And I just mean they're doing different things, so they're normally dividing quite rapidly, or they're moving around more. And on top of that, they may be eating different things because their normal food supply isn't there anymore. So there are millions of cells within a tumour, and we can imagine this similar to a village made up of lots of little houses. Now, imagine the village is suddenly really hangry, and that's because then there's been a dramatic change in food supply. The local supermarket doesn't have any chopped tomatoes, there's no pasta, there's not any bread. Sound familiar? If we take a quick look, it seems like everyone in the village is reacting in the same way. They're just hangry. But if we take a closer look, we can see that actually they're reacting in different ways and maybe metabolizing in different ways as well. So, for example, we have Raj and Rachel in their red house, and they're newlyweds quarantined together. They're both furloughed, and with not a lot else to do, it's fair to say Rachel's soon going to be expecting, and therefore her diet is going to have to change quite dramatically in order to help grow their baby. Awana, in her orange house, has decided to run a marathon in her back garden, so she ate 1 kilogram of pasta yesterday. And then we have Bill in his blue house, and because he couldn't buy bread anymore, he started to make his own sourdough. Believe it or not, these are all behaviours that we actually see within cancer as well. So, like Rachel, some cells within a tumour are dividing a lot more rapidly, so they have to metabolise differently in order to produce the building blocks to grow more cells. So like fats and proteins and actually DNA. Like Awana, some cells within a tumour are much more active and they're moving around and invading, and that requires more energy. So their energy demand is higher and their consumption is as well. So they start to eat more carbohydrate. And like Bill, some cancer cells have to find a new food source because maybe there's not as much carbohydrate anymore, so they start to eat proteins. Now, my research looks at trying to understand whether there are different populations present within a tumour, whether they're metabolising differently, and they're responsible for different behaviours, because it may be that collectively different populations form a tumour together. So, for example, if Bill is adapting the food for everyone and starts to share his bread, those cells are responsible for feeding the tumour, and equally there may be some cells that are more active and some that are more prone to divide, and therefore it may take a village to raise a tumour.
Thank you, Annie. Over to the judges then for their questions. Let's go for Marieke first.
Hi Annie, thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed the analogies in your talk there. In particular, I am one of the hangriest people I know. Anyone who knows me, anyone in the office, they know what I'm like. If it gets to 11 a.m. and I've not had my snack, I'm an absolute nightmare. So I really enjoyed that. I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with your analogy, your sort of village analogy for your cancer research? How did you come up with that, and how did you manage to work that into your talk?
Yeah, so it actually started off as me trying to work out what props I could use, because I was trying to describe that there are different populations within a tumour. And then I was looking at my board games and I saw that I've got Monopoly and that's got lots of little houses in it. So I thought, oh great, I can build a village and have each household representing a cell.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic.
All right, so do we have a follow-up question from Jess or Dallas?
I wanted to say what I really enjoyed your analogy as well. I think a good FameLab talk makes you think about a subject in a completely different way. Even if it's a subject that might be familiar, like cancer, being able to think of it in a different way. And I thought it was very good. My question was, you used a lot of analogy about our current situation. I was just interested in your take. What do you think of the way we are communicating science at the moment with our government and our scientists?
Yeah, I think that's a very topical question as well.
Just because you were being topical, I thought I'd give you a topical question back.
It's a good one. I think, and we discussed this in our masterclass actually, that a lot of people are becoming science communicators now without realising it. So a lot of our politicians now are filling the roles of science communicators. And you can make up your mind whether you think that's a good idea, if they're doing a good job or not. I will leave that up to you. But yeah, it's very interesting because loads of people have suddenly become science communicators, especially with social media as it is nowadays. So quickly people can present their ideas and share them around the world. So I think it's even more important for us to do our jobs to kind of educate, perhaps with a bit more of a scientific grounding about these kind of things.
Thank you.
Jess, do you have a third question we can chuck at Annie?
Thank you so much, Annie. I really enjoyed that and could definitely relate to being hungry. I loved your use of stories and I loved your use of humour. I wondered if I could ask you, what is the key takeaway, the one thing that people listening to you, hearing you, would take away?
Yeah, so the key message I'd like to get across is to basically increase our understanding of cancer, because at the moment all of our treatments and how we talk about cancer is largely that A tumour is a thing. It's kind of its own unit. We're not, it's just different to the body, it's separate. And it's treated as the whole thing is the same. But actually, a new technology has revealed that there may be different populations there. And actually, if we're studying it as a whole, we're actually missing out on a lot of information there. So we need to look a bit closer.
There you go. Strong start from Annie. A quick reminder, I'm playing in pre-recorded presentations and judges' Q&As, but we are all watching those live, and the live chat is very much open. I'm coming to you live from my spare room. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the presentation. There's already lots happening, but let me know what you're enjoying about a presentation, what's impressed you, what you didn't know before, or if you just want an old-fashioned shout-out, say where you're from. For example, I got this one from Ronaldo, who says, congratulations to all participants. Greetings from Brazil. That's pretty cool. We've also got a whole bunch more. Who have we got? We've got John watching in Cheltenham. Oliver says, go Annie. Lubov watching from Bulgaria. Hello. And pesky cheeseboard. The Cheltenham cheeseboard has been in the live chat, you might notice, saying that they're here in spirit, feeling hangry. Harley wants to play Monopoly. Sarah is enjoying the topical references. Brilliant. Keep it all coming. On then to our second finalist. Our second finalist, randomly chosen, is Elizabeth Mills, a PhD student at the University of Dundee. Let's check out Elizabeth's presentation.
Today, I want you to do my favourite activity with me. I want you to put on your wellies and come rock pooling. Are they on? Imagine you're climbing over the rocks of your local beach, or maybe somewhere you explored as a kid. Notice the multicoloured seaweeds, but don't slip as you reach into a rock pool and lift up a rock. Mussels, barnacles, anemones are all living on the surface of that rock. Now, all these organisms started their lives off as tiny little larvae that you can barely see with your naked eye, if at all, before choosing their home and transforming like a caterpillar into a butterfly. Except for when these guys turn into adults, they are never moving from that position again. Now, excuse me, as I wrench you from your own childhood memories and plop you in one of mine. Instead of exploring a rocky shore, we're exploring a sunken shipwreck at low tide. This metallic ship was left there during the World Wars, but now nature has taken over. And just like our rocky shore, it's covered in slippery, slimy and squelchy marine life. Except when you look a bit closer, you notice that some of the species on that wreck look a bit different to the ones you saw in your own rock pool, and some of your favourite species are missing. Well, that's because if you only have to pick one home and then never ever move from that spot ever again, you're going to become fussy, which is what my research and other research has shown. That at this tiny little larval stage, these organisms have the ability to detect between different materials. They can tell the difference between metal and rock. And actually, some have favourite species to set up home on, which means we find different species living on man-made materials compared to natural ones. Now that's left a bit of a tricky problem that I am trying to solve. Man-made materials in particular are homes to groups of species that like to hitchhike from far-off countries around the world. The problem is that sometimes those species don't play nice with our own native ones and can actually threaten our own rock pooling communities. Now, as you can tell, I like wearing hats, and in my career I have worn many of them: marine biologist, engineer, and now I am a real estate agent to the rock pooling world. That's because I'm making new materials, designing new materials that we put in the sea, new homes, so that the creatures that threaten our own rock pooling communities decide not to live there. I started my days off as a kid by putting on my wellies and asking curious questions about what grew on ships. And to be honest, my adult day starts pretty much the same, except now what I learn and notice is helping to protect the rock pooling species I love so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Took me back to my childhood as well. Over to the judges then for their questions. We're going to go to Dallas first.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was great. It was funny, actually, because I always think, what is the point of science? What is science all about? And ultimately, science is just about picking up stones to see what's underneath them. And I think you've summed that up really, really nicely. I had a question. You mentioned in your talk, actually, you'd gone from engineer to marine biologist. And I was just wondering, did you have a moment or a particular rock that you turned over that sealed it for you? Said, nope, it's marine biology for me.
Actually, it was kind of the other way around. I did marine biology and then engineering. Sorry for that confusion. It was because I noticed, I love rock pooling so much, but I noticed that we were putting a lot of things in the sea, a lot of materials, a lot of devices, and people weren't noticing that things were growing on it. They were like, marine biologists were like, yeah, things are growing on it, we like that. And engineers were like, oh, I'm really annoyed that stuff's growing on it, but no one was really crossing that divide. And I found it really fascinating that materials can influence what grows on it, and actually there was this whole world of different problems that weren't getting solved because, I mean, engineering and marine biology are two polar opposites and no one was doing both, so I decided to take the leap and jumped and did a master's in materials engineering, and now I've carried on and doing engineering and marine biology together.
Terrific, thank you very much.
I love that the analogy continues. She jumped right into it, splashed
She's
in.
the analogy queen. She's just like nailing those analogies.
Jess, Marieke, have you got a follow-up question, either of you? Jess, let's go, Jess.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, Elizabeth, and it was great that you made it so personal throughout the whole thing. You mentioned how of rock pooling. What is it? Like, what is the key thing that you are so inspired by with rock pooling that you would love everyone else to see and be inspired by as well?
There are literally hundreds of species that live on the rocky shore, but we're inspired by coral reefs, by all of these amazing rainforests and all of these amazing biodiverse things, but it seems so out of reach. They seem like EV's money to get to. Actually, a rocky shore is home to just as much exciting predation and beautiful species that are right on our doorstep. And not only that, but the tide change, it's such a small thing that it's all affected by the tide. So you can walk 3 meters on a rocky shore and you can see different ecosystems and different responses, and it's right here on the UK's doorstep. And I just want to say to people that marine biology is for everyone, and it just starts with a pair of wellies. Just put the wellies on and go explore.
Lovely answer.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Marieke, have you got a follow-up?
So tell me a little bit more about being a real estate agent. Are you actually creating new real estate now for these organisms, and where is it? Like, where's this actually happening? Are you creating it right now?
So my PhD is looking at changing different concretes to put in harbours. So I'm looking at changing the concrete that we put in harbours so that the invasive species, which is a particular issue there because they come off ships, decide that they don't want to live there. So at the moment I have over 200 homes in the sea that have been there for a year, and all of hopefully creatures are growing on it, and I can't wait for the opportunity to get back out and see who's moved in.
Amazing. Really enjoyed that. Hello, if you've just joined us, welcome to Cheltenham Science Festival at Home in association with EDF Energy and the FameLab UK final. My name is Greg Foote. I'm your host for the evening, queuing all the videos and doing everything here from my spare room. So I hope you're enjoying it so far. It's great to see. There's so much going on in the live chat. What have we got? Red Beachcomber says, go Lizzie. Sounds like a rock pooling buddy, right, with that name. Lauren says, yay Liz, doing Dundee proud. You got a question. Well, we got many fans of the hat. So many of you loving the hats. Sally was loving, Sophie was loving the hats. Sally Page was loving rock pooling. Nice one, Sally. Carl NS says Elizabeth took her on a journey with that talk. Also, the finalists are in the chat. I actually saw Elizabeth was in there during the chat saying, hey, if you've got any questions, let her know. She's Marine Mumbles in the chat, and Annie's in there as well, our first speaker. All right, then, on to our third speaker, about to take to the virtual stage. She is Maria Villaris, a fourth-year undergrad at the University of Oxford. 3 minutes on the clock. Off she goes.
I'm going to try and break the rules of FameLab using quantum mechanics. The rules say I can only give one talk. But what if I could create a parallel world and give a different talk in that world? To do this, I'm going to use a quantum computer, which can split reality from one state into two. Normal computers store and process information in bits, which can be in one of two states, like the two sides of a coin. It can be a 0 or a 1. Quantum computers use quantum bits instead, called qubits, which can be modelled as a sphere. Now, at the top of the sphere, the qubit is a 0, and at the bottom of the sphere, the qubit is a 1. But at any other point on the sphere, the qubit is a combination of both 0 and 1 at the same time. Now, if I measure a qubit that's a 0, I'll get a 0. And if I measure a qubit that's a 1, I'll get a 1. But what will I get if I measure a qubit that's both a 0 and a 1? According to the laws of quantum mechanics, one version of me will measure a 0 and another version of me will measure a 1. And these two versions will go on to live separate lives in parallel. So I can create these two parallel worlds simply by measuring a qubit. So this morning, I remotely accessed a real IBM quantum computer and I measured a qubit that began as a combination of 0 and 1. The moment I reveal the outcome of that measurement, you will be watching two different FameLab talks at the same time. The outcome I measured in this world was 1, but in a parallel world, you're watching me give a talk where the outcome was 0. But not all quantum physicists would agree. Many believe that when we measure a qubit, it somehow jumps to either a 0 or a 1 at random, and only this world is real. The problem is that this jump is forbidden by the fundamental laws of quantum mechanics, which really do predict that multiple worlds exist. So if I'm only giving one talk right now, then we need to change the laws of one of the most successful theories of all time. So what really happened at 10 this morning when I measured that qubit on the quantum computer? It remains one of the most controversial problems in modern physics. Either I'm giving two talks and I broke the rules of FameLab using quantum mechanics, or I'm giving one talk and I broke the rules of quantum mechanics using FameLab. Thank you.
Are we all there, or has Maria broken FameLab? Hopefully she hasn't. Hopefully our judge is still there. Jess, for your first question, please.
Thanks. Well done, Maria. That was great. Brilliant to start off with. I'm going to break the rules. Like that pulls everyone in, I think. What I would really like to know is, obviously this is, like you say, very controversial, big topic. In your dream scenario, have your biggest ambitions in mind. What would your research lead to?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm really interested in looking at how the fundamental aspects of quantum mechanics or fundamental aspects of physics connect with the practical aspects of how we can use physics. So that's why I chose this multiple worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, but I wanted to use an actual quantum computer to display it, because I think it's really interesting when these abstract ideas become linked with practical ideas. And it's actually from the multiple worlds interpretation that the idea for a quantum computer first came from.
Right, I'm going to go to both judges at the same time now, because apparently that's possible. And two of you, Maria, can answer it. No, I'm joking. Who would like to go next? Maria or Dallas? Looks like he's swatting up. Oh, they both want to go. Dallas, you keep reading. Marieke, let's go to you.
Yeah, I just wondered if, and you touched upon this actually in your question to Jess, but I just wondered, as a physicist, you get asked this all the time, what are the practical applications for your research? You know, how is what you're doing really going to impact the person on the street? Like, why is it relevant to them?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, one aspect of it is that quantum computing itself, the idea came from the thinking about how to test the multiple worlds theory of quantum mechanics. And the idea to test it needed the idea of a quantum computer. And that technology, the quantum computer, has various potential applications. For example, there's a quantum space race at the moment to try and create the first quantum computer that's useful to do things like improving drug discovery or creating new batteries for the energy industry. There are loads of applications, some of them we might not have even thought of. So that's one way in which abstract physics has impacted a technology today that could then impact more people. What I find most interesting is what have we yet to discover? What's beyond the quantum computer? There might be some technologies that transform our lives that we actually can't even conceive of existing yet. So I think that's, for me, the most exciting way that fundamental physics could impact everyone's everyday life.
Thank you, that's awesome, thank you.
Sorry, I was just checking a few things. As Feynman told us, of course, Richard Feynman, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics. I kind of understood that. Does that mean that somehow it was a bad talk and a good talk at the same time? Maybe in the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, you've both won FameLab and lost FameLab together, but only by collapsing the wave function. In the Copenhagen interpretation, we will actually understand truly whether you are a FameLab winner. Any comment?
I think it's interesting you should mention the Copenhagen interpretation because a lot of people like this idea that when quantum mechanics is presented, it's normally presented as something could be in two states at the same time, but then it will be collapsed to one state when we observe it. But the Copenhagen interpretation doesn't say anything about how that collapse happens. And then you have to go to other specific collapse theories to try and work out exactly why a collapse happens, which, and none of those theories have kind of completely explained everything. So that's why, even though the Copenhagen interpretation is very popular, we end up with, there's a lot of problems with it, which arguably the many worlds interpretation doesn't have. So maybe we are having lots of different FameLabs at the same time.
Wow. Crikey. Dallas didn't hold back with that last question. Gosh. We're 1/3 of our way through the finalists. Congratulations, Maria. That was awesome. So many people saying how much they were loving that. Steve says, quantum computing, it isn't the future. Oh, it is the future. It's both at the same time. Jeff Forshaw, who spoke with Brian Cox about black holes at the Science Festival yesterday evening. That was a great talk. He was loving Maria's presentation. Jim Markland votes for two worlds. Binny Sharma is applauding very, very loudly. Katie Norris says, excellent quality of talks. Tough competition. Completely agree. Lots of people rightfully congratulating people for the pivoting to the online version and being able to deal with the digital. So good job. And Katie wants to shout out to all the freelance staff who normally run the venues at Cheltenham Science Festival, are missing it very much. So I hope this is very much helping. Last but not least, I love Nate's comment, which just went, hamster balls? Is she using hamster balls? All right, so moving on. Just a quick reminder, there's going to be an audience vote, but that audience vote will not open until after all 9 finalists have performed. So keep jotting down who your favourite is. Right, next up is Amy Paskins, a postdoc at the University of Sheffield.
Space. The final frontier. Even if you're not as into Star Trek as I clearly am, I'm sure you'll still know the phrase. Because since it first aired 54 years ago, it has become one of the biggest science fiction franchises of all time. But is it really all just that? Fiction? So I can guarantee that all of you watching will have been affected by the show in some way, even if you don't know it. Because a surprising amount of our day-to-day technology was first spotted in the hands of Captains Kirk and Picard on the USS Enterprise. So both mobile phones and tablet computers were created as a direct result of the TV show, and they also had video calling like we're using now, so thank goodness that one became reality. Even now, people are developing Trek tech like universal translators, warp drives and aluminium windows. So in my postdoc, I'm following suit and creating an external healing device, much like the one used by Dr. Beverly Crusher, the Chief Scientific Medical Officer on the Enterprise, in the Next Generation series. So the goal is to create an external, non-invasive healing device for use on chronic wounds, which are simply wounds which do not heal. So they affect up to 200,000 people at any one time in the UK, and at the moment we can't really do much for patients other than dress their wounds, keep them clean and just hope that they go away on their own. But I'm trying to change all that. So Beverly's device, which looked much like this top quality duct tape replica, used lasers to heal skin wounds, whereas I am trying to use ultrasound. So simply put, ultrasound is sound waves that are too high for human ears to pick up. So we can hear in the range of 20 Hertz to 20 kilohertz, or 20 to 20,000 waves per second. And for this device, we're looking up in the millions of waves per second range. But as it turns out, if you treat these chronic wounds with ultrasound for as little as 20 minutes a day, it can reduce the healing time by 1/3. So your skin is split into 3 layers, and the middle bit is where all the good stuff is, so the blood vessels, hair follicles, and these cells called fibroblasts. And ultrasound essentially tells the fibroblasts to move into the wound bed, contracting it, lay out a scaffold, and then new cells can grow over the top. So now we're just trying to finalise the settings on our Star Trek style healing device so we can get it out into the clinic and heal patients, free up some hospital beds, and hopefully make a good dent in the £5 billion that chronic wounds currently cost the NHS every year. We just have to hope no patients come in wearing red shirts, because we all know what happens to those guys.
Woo! Trek Tech. Love it. All right, over to the judges then for their questions. We're going to start with Marieke, please.
Amy, I absolutely love that. I love that you're, doing the Beverly Crusher, real version. But I was wondering, how useful do you find that sci-fi analogy?
I find it's a really useful analogy, and there is loads of stuff that's come from sci-fi. So I've done a lot of, I've given a half an hour talk on stuff that was in science fiction and is now real. So there is a lot of it out there. So I like to sort of get the idea that maybe we can look to the art of our past for the science of our future.
Brilliant, thank you.
Jess or Dallas, either of you have a question?
Yes, I was just going to say, so I like the analogy and the fact that you drew on the sort of the tech from Star Trek. If you are, and this is kind of expanding a bit on Marieke's question, if you're communicating with a wider audience, so one where you feel like they may not relate to the sci-fi element as much, what would you do to kind of break that down?
A bit of both, really. So obviously you can tone it down quite a lot. If it's for more, maybe a medical side audience, you can play more on there's nothing to do for chronic wounds at the moment, so this is a really, really important thing that we need to get out there. There's a lot of different angles you can go for it, but also with the sort of sci-fi and the novel side, there's quite often something that people will know about. I've done various different talks with different levels of the sci-fi-ness, but you can sort of play it more down the cell biology. NHS is losing billions of pounds. We need to get this sorted. So luckily there's a few different angles to come at my research from.
Perfect, thanks.
Dallas, got a little follow-up?
Yeah, thank you. Lovely talk. I was absolutely blown away by the actual what it is that this thing does. I mean, forget about the sci-fi. I'm always interested in where things begin, though. Here's this bit of kit that heals wounds. What were the origins of it? Where did it begin? That particular process.
So actually, this is stemming from a device that's already on the market. So in 1994, a device got okayed by FDA type things for using ultrasound to heal bones. So to be honest, I'm not entirely sure where they first got that idea from. But that's where our research has come in. So we're working with a company that originally developed that device. And they just thought, can we use it for something else? Is ultrasound at its full potential? And it turned out it wasn't. So it was great for me.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was awesome, and I'm loving all these comments. Can we just applaud, please, the Cheese's Cheese Board? So there's a Cheese Board Twitter account for the Cheese Board at Cheltenham Science Fest. So I love that they were on saying, could you make a cheese replicator? But loads of other comments as well. Luke says, go Amy! The Paskins family are all supporting Amy from Cambridge. Loads of people loving the Star Trek link, including Helen. Shaimar is applauding very loudly, and lots of other plans to replicate various things as well. So I hope you're enjoying this. Our 5th FameLab UK finalist is Varun Ramswamy, a PhD student in molecular biophysics at the Institute of Cancer Research in London. Varun has 3 minutes to impress the judges, starting now.
Hi everyone. Now I know the term molecular biophysics does sound like a mouthful, but more specifically what I do is I try to figure out the 3D shapes of proteins that are inside us by only looking at their shadows. Now, you would have heard of proteins as important parts of our diet, But more than that, they are in every cell of our bodies, literally working like machines just to keep us alive. For instance, we can move about because of elastic proteins in our muscles. We can smell because of proteins in our nose. The oxygen we breathe is carried across our body by protein in the blood, and there are 100,000 more, doing their own incredible little things all inside of us. So, these little molecular machines, how do we study them? Well, biophysicists like me employ a simple strategy, which is, if you want to know how they work, then you must first know how they look. So here comes a big question. How on earth do you look at something that's literally 1,000,000 times smaller than even the tip of a pencil? The answer, of course, is using an incredibly powerful microscope that we call an electron microscope. Let me show you how it works. So I have a drop of protein solution, and I shoot a beam of electrons straight at it. Now, these electrons go around the proteins in that droplet, and they cast shadows of them on a screen down below. Just shadows, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only visual clue we get about these tiny little things. And that means, if we really want to know how they look, then we need to make the journey from shadows all the way to shapes. And to demonstrate exactly how we do that, I have with me an ordinary Pringles can and a flashlight. Now, when I hold the can like this, you notice that its shadow on the wall looks sort of like a rectangle. But watch what happens when I turn the can. Now, sure enough, its shadow looks like a circle. And so you immediately see that different orientations of the same object can give you completely different shadows on the screen. So if you were to begin with just those shadows, then all it takes is a little bit of imagination to connect them and create a 3D object. That's the same principle with proteins, really, except we don't deal with simple circles and squares. No, protein shapes can be more bizarre than the shapes of countries on a world map. So we collect millions of shadows of the protein we're working on, and to piece them together, we use more calculation than imagination. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we solve this complex puzzle of shadows to end up at the shapes of proteins. And I'm sure after that unusually exciting adventure, you will agree with me when I say understanding life is really just a game of shadows. Thank you.
I bet part of the fun was eating all those Pringles before that as well.
Oh yeah, it was.
All right, let's get some questions then. Over to the judges.
Well, it actually proves the analogy, the great scientific theorem that once you open a can of Pringles, then they remain gone. Really, really interesting talk. I was interested, and maybe I missed something, or maybe I haven't quite grasped something. You know, you're interested in the shapes of proteins, but why do you need to know about shape? What is it about shape that is the thing that's going to help you understand more about proteins?
The thing is, if you know how something looks down to its very last groove or crevice, then that can give you a huge advantage, especially when it comes to designing medicines. For instance, when I said proteins do everything, then conversely, that means if a protein is defective, then that can cause diseases. Now, if you're a medical professional that's looking to cure that disease with a vaccine or a drug, then what you do is you try to study the shape of the protein. And then you have to design a medicine molecule whose shape matches the groove so it can enter it like a key does into a lock. And then it just locks the protein up so it doesn't do further damage. So I guess the entirety of medicine and healing ailments in this world is just a game of shapes.
Thank you very much, Varun. That was terrific. Thank you.
Marieke, Jess, either of you got a question on the tip of your tongue?
That was a lovely talk. Thanks, Varun. I really loved that closing line. It's got quite philosophical, which was nice. My question is about the Pringles. How were you struck with that piece of inspiration to use the Pringles can as a prop?
Right. So the thing is, when I was learning about electron microscopy in the first year of my PhD, and my boss was giving me all these technical terms, and I was trying to simplify it in my head, I thought, oh, so that's just like shadows. So whenever I talk to people like my mom or my sister, and they ask me, so what exactly is this? What are you doing? And I tell them, look, think about shadows. And I had the first object next to me and I used that. I realized through experience it couldn't be just a pencil box, because no matter how you see it, it's just a rectangle. And cones aren't really intuitive to imagine as well. So from experience, I learned a Pringles can works best.
Brilliant. Not sponsored. Looks like cheese and chive. Anyway, move on. Marieke, what's yours?
Thank you for that. I really enjoyed that talk. I really loved how you gave us like examples of proteins at the beginning as well, because like I'm not a biologist, but that really brought me with you on this journey as to why you're doing your research. Have you done like shadow puppetry workshops with kids? And the other thing I was wondering was, I really wanted to know what shapes the proteins were. Obviously, you've chosen a cylinder for really simple. But could you then do a workshop with more complicated protein shapes? And can you even 3D print models of your proteins? So yeah, I just wondered, have you done more in-depth science communication around this?
That's a lovely question. Well, I haven't gotten the chance to do anything with shadows really, but I have done one about protein shapes, and I encountered the same problem. I was thinking, how exactly do I replicate a protein shape in reality? And then I realized protein shapes are so complicated. All I need to do is take bits of crumpled paper and sort of stick them together. So you can stick them in different ways. Each one of them looks like a completely weird shape that you can't describe in a word or two. So that's literally how proteins are, and that's what makes this completely difficult to get different shadows. So yeah, I have tried combining crumpled papers in different ways to give people an idea of what we're dealing with and why this takes 4 years just to go from shadows to shapes.
I can see a really good workshop there at a science festival in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Good plug, Marieke. Good plug. I just want to show you a really, really lovely comment. First of all, congratulations, Varun. Obviously, loads of people loving the Pringles analogy and demo in the live chat. Love this from Emma. So Emma says, strong competition. Well done, everyone. FameLab UK finalists 2019 still have a WhatsApp group. We're sending best wishes and good luck. Becoming part of the FameLab family is the ultimate prize, which I think is really, really wonderful. So thank you, Emma, for posting that. Thank you to all of the finalists who are in the live chat as well. Varun is in that live chat as well, answering your questions. Let's do a few more. We've got Red Beachcomber wants Pringles. So do I. Marge says, very well explained. Well done. Doris thought that was an effortless presentation. Actually, a lot of people saying we want Pringles. We're now over halfway through our finalists, sadly. A reminder, the audience vote will open after you've seen all 9 finalists' performances. Then there's going to be a quick science quiz that I've got for you whilst we give you some time to vote and see what the result is. Also, I'm contracted at this point to tell you that Cheltenham Festivals is a not-for-profit charity that works year-round to inspire the next generation of doctors, scientists and researchers. If you'd like to support this work, and myself, the speakers, lots of the performers at the festivals, of course, would hugely appreciate it if you did, you can make a donation at this link here, crowdfunder.co.uk/CheltSciFest at home. Right, onwards then to our next performer, who is Rebecca Ellis, a PhD student at Swansea University. Here she is.
Let's talk about autism's fake news. Figures and statements that have been misconstrued. Separate true facts from falsities meant to mislead. Starting with autism is not a disease. It's a neurological condition. Our brains act differently. Brain structure changes, slightly different connectivity. A difference, not a disease nor a virus by far. You know what a virus is. MM&R. Measles, mumps and rubella's numbers are reanimated, in part due to a vaccine linked to autism which was discredited, unfounded, baseless, unproven and groundless. Apply critical thinking. Misinformation caused this. Autism is present in not just men. Hello, look at this fine specimen. Diagnosis rates in men may seem superior, but that's what you get with a male-focused criteria, leaving many others undiagnosed without explanation, using self-diagnosis or private care to get validation. Only psychopaths have zero empathy. Autistic people have it to varying degrees. Some of us have it double, more than you and me, but it's unseen because it's expressed differently. Instead of teaching coping mechanisms encouraging success, there are interventions which teach to mask and suppress. Masking is observing and copying social niceties, being less autistic, fitting in with society. But there's a problem with presenting this normal exterior. You no longer receive support because your struggle's interior. And assuming the neurotypical life is superior reinforces the idea the real you is inferior. This causes burnout, feelings of anxiety, self-hate, Autistics have a 9 times higher suicide rate. I'm sorry, if I speak fast in my poetry, I have to. 54 is my life expectancy. These numbers could change with counselling and learning self-care, but you need the appropriate services to help get you there. Diagnostic manuals over time show a discrepancy in the words, terms and phrases used to describe me. High functioning is not an official medical classification. It implies elitism, carries negative connotation. It suggests a scale with fixed intervals along the way, best to worst. Count by numbers, 1 to 50 shades of grey. Autism is more varied, that's what a spectrum implies. Autism spectrum disorder is now most commonly utilised. An umbrella term to encapsulate neurodiversity. I'm not Sheldon, I'm not Rain Man, I am uniquely me. Fake news can be dramatic, catchy and slick. It pulls at your emotions so it's shared and it sticks. Take time to separate true facts from falsities. Then read the news, get informed. And wash your hands, please. Thank you.
Rebecca, that was a fantastic piece of spoken word poetry. Thank you so much. Over to the judges then. Jess is going to ask our first question.
Thank you so much for that, Rebecca. It was really powerful. And what I really appreciated, as well as obviously the poetry, was that you connected on an emotional level, which I think in science is a really big achievement and a really effective tool. On the poetry side of things, I wanted to know, is that a sort of common way for you to communicate these messages, or was that something new for this? I'd really love to know what was behind writing that amazing poem.
Well, I've never really done much poetry before. I think I was put off with it at school a little bit, but I am quite creative. I draw and I doodle whilst I'm listening to lectures. It helps me think and work through things. And I think the poem just started as a fun way to challenge myself. And as I already told the team in a group meeting the other day, I recently watched the musical Hamilton. And I thought, if Lin-Manuel Miranda can, put across stuff to do with the US Constitution, I could probably make my research into a poem.
Right, okay. So, Marieke, Dallas, who has a follow-up for me? It looks like Dallas's pen is in the air, waving. Dallas.
Yeah, just absolutely astounding. I said at the beginning, the job of a FameLab participant is to make a connection with the audience, and you've done just that. I really was interested that you mentioned the famous Andrew Wakefield MMR autism case, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts are at the moment where we are in lockdown with this great ocean of bullshit that surrounds us in terms of anti-vaccination conspiracy theories that are swirling around the internet at the moment. Are you constantly tearing your hair out, or are you a little more sanguine about what's going on?
I'm personally amazed that his work was published in 1998 and we're still talking about it now. The rhetoric is around vaccines and the link to autism has embedded itself so much in people's minds that they can't seem to shake it. And I think what we're seeing currently might be something similar. We see a lot of fake news surrounding corona and what we should be doing, what we should be thinking, what the scientists are saying. It's nice that we have separated the scientists from everyone else. I don't like that idea that there's a kind of us and them vibe. I don't think that helps anything.
Marieke, would you like to chuck in a final question?
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. I really loved your verse, and it really got me to engage emotionally. And it was very shocking as well. Some of the content in there was really shocking, and I'd love to hear more about it. I just wanted to ask you really about your own specific research. So could you just tell us really, really briefly exactly what you're doing?
So I'm here at Swansea University. My research is funded by Healthcare Research Wales, and Wales has started an all Wales integrated autism service, helping people from assessment all the way to post-diagnosis. My PhD is hoping to develop an intervention which aids in the communication between healthcare workers, education workers and the family unit to make sure that they can go through this process as smoothly as possible.
Thank you.
Wow, that was a fantastic presentation. This is your two-thirds through warning. I thought that'd be a hard thing to say. 6 finalists down, 3 to go. Do you have a favourite? If so, jot them down so they can you can vote in the audience vote later. And you haven't seen them all yet. Let's have a look at a few comments because that was a wonderful performance. Greetings and good luck from FameLabbers in Greece. Phoebe says, yes, Becky, absolutely amazing. Lenny, aged 8, says, this is so cool. Amy says, so clever and poetic. Matt says, amazing rhyme, sis, brilliantly delivered. I think we can all agree on that one. Sophie also said, loving the autism, humour and poetry. And that's from an autistic person. Katie says, difficult topic, but very moving. And just a little shout out as well to continue the FameLab community conversation. So Matthew Tosh says quite a few FameLab alumni in this chat. You really don't ever lose touch. It's a great family to be a part of and can open all sorts of interesting opportunities. And then we also had, let's get rid of that one. We also had Tony saying, can we have a shout out to the festival volunteers? I'm at home wearing my pink t-shirt, waiting to help people. And then people were like, Sally was at Where Are the Loos? So I love it. This is brilliant that you're all engaging in the live chat as well at the same time. Right, okay, kicking off the final trio of finalists is Elizabeth Evans, a geologist working in Swansea University's engineering department. Here she is.
In 1979, a French-American submarine expedition stumbled upon something unexpected in the dark, frigid depths of the Pacific Ocean. A 6-foot-tall chimney rising from the seabed with a black plume of smoke. Now this black water was laden with minerals of metals like lead, copper and even silver, but was also 350 degrees Celsius in temperature, so hot that it would have melted the submarine's plastic viewport if they'd got too close. What's more, these hydrothermal vents, as they're known, are teeming with life. Tube worms, shrimp, types of crab, even fish. They are islands of life in the barren desert of the deep ocean. Now, most that are discovered are only a few feet to a few metres in height, but others tower over the abyssal plain, like the aptly named Godzilla vent, which was 40 metres tall when it was discovered in the Pacific Ocean before it later collapsed. A very significant hydrothermal field is the mythically named Lost City. This field has 1 metre tall chimneys, but up to 60 metre tall towers. And perhaps most astounding and remarkable of all, something incredible is happening in the scalding hot fluids. The chemical building blocks of life are being created with no input from biology, just chemistry. Now, places like these hydrothermal vents are thought to be where life first began on Earth, spontaneously, purely chemically. But also, places like this may point to future discoveries we may find on Europa, one of the moons of Jupiter, which has a vast ocean. And if there's life in Europa's oceans, then where else? I think it's incredible that what we learn about our deep ocean can teach us not only about our primordial ancient past, but potentially point to future discoveries out there in space.
Oh, the weird and wonderful world of hydrothermal vents. Brilliant topic. All right, over to the judges for their questions. Marieke, we're going to come to you first.
So I was thinking about Europa. Is that the best chance we've got for finding life in the solar system? And when are we going to find this life on Europa? Like, what's the time scale? Like, I'm impatient for this.
So the reason why Europa is such a good possibility to have life is it has what we think are some of the most important things that you need for life, which is water. Life seems to need water, and also an energy source, because although Europa is frozen, it has a hot inner core, we think, like the Earth, and also it's affected by tidal forces from Jupiter. So as it orbits Jupiter, gravity squashes it in and out, a bit like a squash ball. It gets hotter because of the gravity. And so that's kind of the reason why people have started thinking, okay, this is a possibility. In terms of when we're going to find the life, well, there's a few missions currently scheduled to go to Europa. Unfortunately, both of them are flybys. So there's the NASA Clipper mission, and that mission is going to take multiple flybys and take photographic images, but also try and get some chemical data so that we can start to get a clue of what's actually below the ice. Because when we start to get a clue of what is below the ice, maybe we can see some of the chemistry, and that might be when we'll start to get a clue as if life is there. But who knows when that will be, when we get that definitive there is life in space.
Thank you.
It's such a great subject. Greg, I know you love the subject, this particular subject, with your undersea adventures. I'm just wondering, in the kind of pantheon of great scientific discoveries, you know, evolution, quantum mechanics, whatever it is, where does the hydrothermal vent and what it's told us fit into that? I mean, obviously you mentioned the origins of life. That's pretty big, isn't it?
In terms of what it's teaching us, the fact that it can point towards not only our primordial past. I'm a geologist, so I'm interested in the ancient planet Earth, but also it teaches about current life, what animals and other creatures are living there, and then also looking out into space. It seems to be a kind of meeting point of lots of different pieces of science. And I think those types of discoveries are where really interesting things happen and spin off from.
I really enjoyed that. Thanks, Elizabeth. Great storytelling to really paint the pictures of what you were communicating. What I wondered if you could just tell us a little bit more about your area of research and how that ties in with what you outlined in your presentation today.
I study deep sea sediments, so things that are deposited on the ocean floor. So my interest is kind of very much tangential to what I actually do day to day.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I love this comment from Emma. I'm just going to show you it. Here you go. I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of the judges. So tough. Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a tricky one. And when we do indeed reveal the runner-up and the champion, I am going to be ringing the champion live on a video call. We hope. Right, some comments. Carlene says, "Go Elizabeth." Eileen and John are applauding very loudly. Harley says, "I had no idea these things existed. So cool." Steve says, "This subject is really hot." Doris says, "Brilliant, Elizabeth." And both Elizabeth and Rebecca are in the chat to answer your questions if you have any more. Now, before we hear from our penultimate finalist, I just want to repeat that tonight's winner will go on to represent the UK at the International FameLab Finals. We've got a bunch of the International FameLabbers watching. I know some of the Greek, some of the bunch from Greece are in and saying hello. So the International FameLab Finals are usually held at Cheltenham Science Festival, but the plan is to hold them later in the year. The International FameLab Finals are always an incredible event because winners come from over 20 countries. I've been to a number of them. They are wicked to watch. They all compete to be crowned the International FameLab Champion. Lots of love for the festival volunteers as well in the live chat. And yeah, they really very much make the festival what it is. So big thank you from me as well to you for everything you do. Two more UK finalists left then. And the first up is Paula Bila Gomez, a first-year PhD student at Imperial College London.
I think we will all agree that viruses are not very popular these days. However, they can be amazing tools that we can use in our favor. When a lytic virus infects a cell, it lyses it, provoking its death. Therefore, if we can target these viruses to tumor cells, we can be creating anti-tumor therapies. For this, we need two main things. First of all, we need to identify a target that is present in the tumor cells but absent in the healthy tissue. Second, we need to study the virus we are going to use. For example, in this virus, we can see these black proteins on its surface, which really don't match the target we have selected. Therefore, we need to modify them. And we need to modify them to something looking pretty much like this, that perfectly matches the target. So how do we do this? We do this by modifying the viral genome. So the viral genome is located inside of the virus and it has all the information we need to build a new virus. So if we modify this information, for example, with the information needed to build this protein, we will be creating a new modified virus that is expressing these proteins on its surface. So what do we do? So first of all, we need to cut the genome open and then stick the new bit of information. To cut the genome, we use restriction enzymes. Restriction enzymes are like molecular scissors, and they are specific for a sequence. So what they do is they scan the genome, and when they find the sequence they are specific for, they cut. So now we have the genome open, and we just need to stick the new bit of information inside. The way we do this is by using another enzyme, which is called ligase, and basically acts like a sticky tape that lets us put the genome with the new bit information together. So this way we create a new modified genome that looks pretty much like this one. This new modified genome will give rise to a new modified virus that now has the purple proteins on its surface, which, if we remember, perfectly matches the tumor cell and the target we have selected, being now able to infect the tumor cell and kill it. And this is how we can make from our worst enemies our best allies and even save human lives.
Thank you, Paula. Loved the props, especially the scissors. Over to the judges then for their questions. We're going to go to Dallas first, please.
Paula, great job. That was prop-tastic. Doing a talk and having to manhandle props is a difficult task, and you did it very, very well. And it made perfect sense, very, very clear. I understood exactly what you were doing. It's something I'd never heard of. Again, one of the great things about FameLab is we get introduced to subjects we know nothing about. Are you saying that we could use perhaps this coronavirus, you may have heard of it, actually to our own benefit?
So there are different viruses that have been studied for their therapeutic potential, right? I haven't read so far that coronaviruses are one of these families. We have to think that viruses are different, like people are different. They have each of them has their own advantages and disadvantages. So the viruses that have been studied so far include, for example, the virus that causes HIV. The therapeutic viruses have been developed from that virus, but particularly from coronaviruses, I haven't read that much.
It's such a fascinating subject. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much.
Marieke, Jess, who would like to ask the next question? Jess is wiggled the pen first, so we'll go to you.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. And yeah, absolutely great use of props. Working in cybersecurity, the concept of using attacks to defend is something I'm familiar with. I am not familiar with it in the context you spoke about, just like Dallas. So in cybersecurity, it's controversial because it can lead to lots of unintended consequences and collateral damage. And I'm wondering, could that be the case with this? Can you explain how you can use a virus to help a health condition and it not have unintended health consequences?
So yeah, obviously great part of the study and development of therapeutic viruses goes to that, to making sure that they just target the cells that they need to target, in this case the tumor cells, and that they don't cause any related side effects, right? So yeah, there's a whole bunch of research going into that. But for example, most of the viruses that are used for therapy are depleted in whole chunks of their genome. Like they have some genes that contribute to their ability to infect normal cells that we can take out, so they are unable to then replicate in the healthy cells, and they are just left to be able to replicate in those tumor cells, for example. That is the ones we want to target.
Thank you so much, Paula. Loads of people loving the props in that presentation. Wendy, Emma, Mark saying they're really impressed by all that. This is lovely. Kazane says her 10-year-old daughter has now been inspired to be a science communicator. So that's wonderful to hear. Zabalady is loving the scissors. Blanca says, bravo, Paula. And I also, let me show you this one. This is great. Giuseppe says, great presentation, Paula. I felt like being inside a lab with you. Plus, it was really easy to follow, even for a non-native English speaker. Also, Egyptian FameLabbers are with us. They are enjoying the UK final. Just one finalist to perform then, one left, and then the audience vote will open. For our last presentation, we turn to Trisha Palmer, who is completing her Masters in Immunology and Inflammatory Diseases at the University of Glasgow. We put 3 minutes on the clock for the final time. It is over to Trisha.
Romeo and Juliet, Tristan and Isolde. Classic tales of romance, but no one knows about the oligodendrocyte and axon. For most of us, every romance must be punctuated by this line: will you marry me, but never will you myelinate me? Myelination is a process where a cell in the brain and spinal cord, called an oligodendrocyte, insulates a cable-like structure called an axon, otherwise called a nerve. This insulating layer is called myelin. It is the ring that affirms the union between the oligodendrocyte and the axon. So, a ring, it might seem a simple thing in any relationship. We can choose not to wear it without any consequences. But in the brain and spinal cord, our ring is myelin. It provides more than just insulation. It feeds the hungry nerves with food it receives from the oligodendrocyte. So today, I will not tell you how boy met girl, or even celebrate the inception of a jilted love affair. I will celebrate matrimony. Not in marriage, but in myelination. One where Mr. Oligodendrocyte myelinates our beloved Miss Axon. A true, epic love story. But can you still hear wedding bells tolling? So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Oligodendrocyte, using myelin, do you take Miss Axon to be your lifelong partner, to insulate and metabolically support from this day forward during normal brain and spinal cord function, infection or inflammation, through promiscuities of multiple myelinations of about 59 more axons, through injury to axons, shrinkage of your brain, or complete paralysis, until there are more treatments for diseases like multiple sclerosis, until humanity finally realizes that the body will suffer when you, Mr. Oligodendrocyte, and you, Miss Axon, are apart. Mr. Oligodendrocyte, I do. Miss Axon, I do. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you Mrs. Axon myelinated. But my charge to you, Mr. Oligodendrocyte, is this: may you continue to kiss your bride with myelin forever and for as long as you both shall live. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That was wonderful, and well done for being last but not least, having to sit through everyone else, and you did an absolutely great job of delivering that. I wonder if you can tell us what inspired you to really sort of use that analogy, and you almost made that like a theatre of science. What really inspired that and led you to deliver it in such a powerful way?
I think one of the things that we must recognize as scientists is that every science talk must be to educate. But science must not only be relevant, it must be relatable. And most of us are besotted with the idea of getting married. So when I thought about the myelin, I said to myself, most persons, it's almost akin to a piece of electric wire. We think of the wire, but most of us don't think about the wire within the sheath. We think about it as one thing, and that's the same thing with the axons or the nerves inside our body. It's not just one thing. There is somebody, a mastermind behind the picture, providing the insulation that is needed for these nerves. And the other thing too, I think we either born are or we become. This is my life. I was born with a condition that affects nerves. So for me, passion is innate, but I just want people to leave the talk with something relatable.
Great, thank you.
So I just wondered if you could tell us, in a really short sentence, like a bit more about your research. So what you're doing, what's the impact that you hope that your research will have in this area?
Okay, I'll try to put it in one sentence. Currently, there are 8 FDA-approved medications for multiple sclerosis. So my research will look at a different point of view by which the disease can be treated. Myelin is normally considered something compact, but based on my study, we recognize that there are channels within that sheath that feeds the nerves. And if we can look at a different pathway at not only disease cause, but treatment, it will revolutionize the different drugs in the armory of clinicians.
Thank you, that's brilliant, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Tricia. Dallas, have you got a last question for us?
I'll be brief. Everyone who does FameLab goes on a very personal journey. And I'm just interested, having now done FameLab, you were the last person, you've been through the masterclass, you've done all this kind of stuff. What for you has been the most important thing?
I think the most memorable thing for me, and I can't say without expounding a little, is that FameLab has provided a medium. So for me, it really surpasses winning or even to be seen. Because in my opinion, if one more person can be educated as to, one, the cause of MS and the fact that there is a paucity of medications to treat it, I would have done my job. Because most persons believe that because the disease accounts for 2.5 million people in the world and it doesn't compete with other diseases like diabetes and hypertension, we're hidden in the shadows. But in the shadows, these persons are tormented day and night by the condition. So for me, FameLab has provided a platform for me to execute what I desire most, to be known.
Fantastic. Lovely answer. Thank you very much indeed. Terrific.
Well, there you go. All of our 9 FameLab UK finalists have performed. Let's do a few live comments. Elizabeth says it's so cool that FameLab is inspiring the next generation of science communicators. Wendy loves the storytelling skills. Alan says amazing, real, punchy, authentic presentation. Sally loves the rhythm and the tone that you got from Trisha's voice there. Lubov says she really wants this matrimonial vow to become the standard for couples. And Tara says what I think we're all thinking, which is that she's glad she is not judging. So, if you join this live stream after my admin-packed introduction, how dare you? No, also very sensible. I just want to flag again that those 9 presentations and the judges' Q&As were pre-recorded a couple of weeks ago. What happened after the final presentation is that the judges then went into their own digital room, just the 3 of them, to fight it out and decide who would take the runners-up place and who would be crowned the FameLab UK 2020 champion. They did not tell the finalists, they did not tell me. So we are going to hear together very, very soon. First up, though, there's another title for grabs, and that's the FameLab UK 2020 audience favourite. And the vote for that is now open. To vote, you need to go to this link. Here is where all the information is, live.voxvote.com. Don't put any wwws in front of it, just go to that link. That's the pin you need to enter. We're going to give you 10 minutes to do that, all right? So you've got 10 minutes. And to entertain you while you're doing that, I was asked to prepare a, quote, fun science quiz. So done something a little bit different. Some rounds we kind of love, you might have done before. Some rounds are going to be quite different and Cheltenham focused. 3 rounds. They're going to kick off in a minute or two. I'm going to start a timer for the audience vote. Boom! There's a timer. So the audience vote, you have 9 minutes and 55 seconds to get your vote in. After those minutes and seconds, we will tot up the audience vote. I will endeavour to video call the FameLab UK 2020 audience favourite live, even though they do not know who was get that title. I do not know yet, obviously, because you haven't voted. All the finalists are nervously waiting next to their phones and laptops. Then I'm going to be sent a message with the name of the FameLab UK 2020 runner-up. I will then reveal that name, and then we will endeavour to get a video call, again, live, with the FameLab UK 2020 champion. I'll be sent that one on text. So, go cast your audience vote, and while you do that, it is time for the quiz. Okay, so we're going to do 3 rounds. Here we go. Let's change to this screen. Round number 1 is called Who Tweeted That? I'm going to give you 4 questions of these. So you're going to see a tweet. We've removed the name of the person who actually did the tweet, and you're going to get 3 options. So here is the first one. Who tweeted this? Picture the phone book with the words, "What is this, please?" Was it biological anthropologist Professor Alice Roberts? Oh, sorry, Alice. I appear to be on top of the picture there a little bit. Radio frequency engineer Professor Daniel George? Or was it geneticist Dr. Adam Rutherford? What do you think? There's no prizes for this. Just write it down. Who do you think? That was question 1 of round 1. All right, let's get rid of that. Next one. Here we go. Question number 2. Who did this? We beg for Shania Twain. That don't impress me much. Was it? Here are your options. Was it children's presenter and YouTuber Maddie Moat? Was it engineer and star of Bake Off, Andrew Smith? Or was it science presenter and science rapper John Chase? Which of the 3 of them tweeted, "Roundhouse DJ, we beg for Shania Twain, that don't impress me much"? What do you think? Jot it down, jot it down. All right, that's 2. Oh, I love it that everyone's writing in the live chat as well. Good work. Okay, question number 3 of 4 in this first round is this one. Come on, Greg, press the right button. There it is. All right, who tweeted, "The British Interplanetary Society is such a great name that if there was no such thing as the British Interplanetary Society, there would be a band named the British Interplanetary Society"? Was it... first up, you have got chemist and first British astronaut Dr. Helen Sharman, OBE? Or was it physicist Professor Brian Cox, OBE? Or was it space scientist Dr. Maggie Adarin Pocock, MBE? God, they've all got names, they've all got letters. How cool is that? So who did that tweet? That is your third question. Who is it? Who do you think? That is the end of round number 1. Oh, what happened to my timer? It's just reset itself. All right, I'm going to get rid of that timer. I'm going to give you 5, no, I'm going to give you 7 more minutes because I started a second clock. Don't worry, we have planned this. It's all good. Someone's also watching me on the text as well, so they'll let us know when the 10 minutes is gone. All right, round number 2 is the close-ups round. So you are going to get close-up pictures, 6 close-up pictures, like macro lens pictures. The photos are by Pioneck, so thanks very much for those photos. Self-taught composer and photographer. So 6 for you. I'm going to start with what I think is easiest and move on to what I reckon is hardest. So first one is this. What is that a photo of? All right. Photo number 2 coming up. Photo number 2. What is that a photo of? What do you reckon it is? What do you reckon it is? Jot it down, jot it down. I like a speedy quiz. I like a pacey quiz. I hope you're game with that. All right. Picture number 3. What is this? Picture number 3. What is that? A close-up picture of a macro lens picture. Jot it down, jot it down, jot it down. All right. You've got 3. The next one is, I love this one. What is that? A close-up photo of? I reckon quite a few of you are going to get that one. What is that a picture of? Okay, 2 more. What is this? This is number 5. So this is number 5. What is that a picture of? You're going to have 1 more after this. Someone says they need to know how to vote. Details there on the screen, bottom left, live.voxvote.com. Go to there, enter a pin. That should then have, it wasn't active before the event, so I haven't actually seen that page, but I have been told the audience vote is open and working, by the way. And you can also scroll back through this video if you want to check who you saw and what their name was. Last picture then from me. Last picture is this picture. What is this? So this is picture number 6 of round 2. Picture number 6 of round 2. So you could scroll back if you want. Hopefully you were jotting down that name whilst you were watching that. Oh, a few correct answers and a few wrong answers. Thank you to all of you as well who are in the live chat saying the vote works. We have used the system and it is working. Great, that's really good to know. Okay, all right, that is enough on round number 2. We're going to go on to the final round, round number 3. Now, I did give you one of these examples at the start. What you're going to do, I make that you've got a few minutes left to vote, but I'm going to wait until I get a message that says vote is closed to tell you that vote is closed. I think that's a fair thing to do. All right, okay, so these are emoji discoveries. So these are science discoveries, and I've done an emoji version of them, all right? So you can hopefully try to figure out who is the person or what is the discovery. You know, you're marking yourselves or whatever, so you can get it. Okay, all right, so let's have a look at these. Who is this? 3.5 minutes. I've just got a text saying 3.5 minutes left to vote. All right, so that's your first one. Next one. Who's that? Who is that? The last emoji of that is a brilliant story, which I'll tell you when we do the answers. So who is that? All right, that is question number 2 of round 3. Question number 3 of round 3 in emojis. Who is that? A few of you getting the first one. I thought that'd be a case, right? First one. More straightforward. Hopefully this one's quite straightforward as well. I'm just looking at live chat. Very amusing. Okay, number 4 of round 3. You got 6 in this round. This is the one because you've seen one of them already. So number 4 of this round. Who is this? What do we think? What do you think this one is? Hopefully you've got that one. Again, I think they kind of go from easier to harder was the plan. So let's get rid of that one. 2 more. 2 more. Here we go. Is this one. So again, it can be the person or the idea or the theory or the practice that they came up with. What are you looking at? It was fun. It was fun coming up with these. Elspeth did a couple. I did a couple. Brilliant fun. All right, brilliant. Nice, lots of correct answers in the live chat. Will you be right? We'll have a look later. Final few minutes, final couple of minutes, I'm being told. All right, so one more picture. This one. Now, this is one of the toughest, but an amazing, amazing story. So do you know who this is? All right. That is the end of your quiz. I told you, super quick. 3 quick rounds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rush through and give you the answers, but I will let you know when a text lands and says that the vote is closed. All right, so back to round number 1. Boom. Boom. Okay, all right. So who was it that tweeted that? Who tweeted, what is this, please? For a picture of the phone book. The answer is, get rid of this, Adam Rutherford. That was Dr. Adam Rutherford. Okay, nice. So get rid of this one. Brilliant. Okay, all right, next one. 1 minute left. I've just got a text saying you have 1 minute left to go to live.voxvote.com. Use that pin there to get your vote. Okay, second question was this one. Who was it that said we beg for Shania Twain that don't impress me much? The answer is, it was Andrew Smith. Andrew Smith. All right, cool. Let's get rid of this one. Number 4. Who was it that did the whole long thing about the British Interplanetary Society? Who was it? I saw a few answers coming in the live chat. That's this one, so I can do this. It is Brian Cox. That was Brian who said that one. Last one then for round number 1 was this one. Who vomited in their mouth when they saw the y-axis on that picture? The answer is... It was Hannah Fry. The vote is now closed. I repeat, the vote is now closed. All right, so now what has to happen is some of the FameLab team are going to check it, corroborate it, etc. And then they will let me know. They will send me a message for who wins. So let's quickly go through round number 2 while they're figuring that out. What is this a picture of? This is spaghetti. This is a single piece of spaghetti. All right, what's this one? That is the end of a ballpoint pen. What's this next one? Oh, I've just got a message that says, it's so close. All right, what's this one? What is this picture? This is pages of a book. Those are book pages. What's this one? This one that I absolutely love. I hope you got this one. This is great. This is Velcro. So that's Velcro with a macro lens, super close up. All right, what's this? I think the little kind of soap film down the bottom left might give that one away. That is a kitchen sponge. And last up, what is this? Tricky, really tricky. Impressed if you got this. Let me know in the live chat. This is a tea bag. Yes, that is a tea bag. All right, that's it for round 2. So let's quickly whiz through round 3 mega quickly. Here we go. Who was that? That was Isaac Newton. That story of him sitting under a tree and getting hit by an apple and coming up with the idea. All right. So next up, this is Marie Curie. Person who discovered radium and polonium, first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes. Marie Curie, the ambulance, is because of the vehicles that she developed to carry X-ray machines to the front lines in the war, which was an absolutely amazing story. This one, as lots of you thought, Charles Darwin, apparently studying finches on the Galapagos Islands. I mean, yeah, they're pigeons emojis, sure. Actually, I saw a couple of people going, he didn't look at finches. So... there you go. This one, what was that one? That one, yeah, it's Archimedes, of course, the guy who ran naked through the streets of Syracuse shouting, Eureka! After working out the volume of water displaced must be equal to the volume of the part of his body that he submerged. Not sure what part. All right, next up, 2 of these left. Here's the penultimate one. This is the person who came up with the terms vaccine and vaccination from variolae vaccinae, smallpox of the cow. This is Edward Jenner. And smallpox vaccination. And last but not least, story I absolutely love. This is someone who came up with the term software engineering and led the team developing the code that weaved it into copper rope and helped Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin get safely to the moon's surface in 1969. This is Margaret Hamilton. A quick plug, if you're into science history stories like that, I've got a podcast called Surprisingly Brilliant, which goes and tells the lesser known stories of lots of more well-known science. So do check that out. All right. Oh my goodness. I have a name. I'm not going to tell you the name just yet. I can tell you that there were 500 votes and there was only 0.2% in it. That's how close it was. 0.2%. All right, let's go back to this. Let's take this off. All right, now, before I reveal who got the most of your votes and who will become the FameLab UK 2020 audience favourite, let's hear from our judges about what they particularly enjoyed and were impressed by from all of our finalists.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who took part in this year's FameLab. Absolutely brilliant. And being a FameLab judge, I got to tell you, it never, ever gets any easier. But the one thing I realised actually watching everyone today is that there are 2 things about FameLab. You can either learn a new subject you knew nothing about, which is wonderful, or a subject that you might know a little bit about, told in a completely different way that changes the way you think about that. And so many of these talks today did exactly that. So absolutely perfect. Picking a winner and picking a runner-up out of those 9 brilliant talks has been absolutely horrific. and I don't want to have to do it.
That was amazing. Thank you and well done to all of our finalists. As a judge for the first time, I can say the standard was incredibly high and you have genuinely made our job very difficult. So much energy, enthusiasm, inspiration, education, humour, passion coming through. So I don't know how we're going to choose, but well done to everyone.
Massive kudos to every single one of the participants who have participated in FameLab under lockdown. So it's one thing preparing for a live event, but it's a whole different ball game doing this digitally. So I just want to say well done for everyone for getting stuck in so that we could run FameLab UK still this year. It's absolutely fantastic. I don't know how we're going to pick a winner. We've been blown away from the stories, the analogies, the props. It's a difficult job now for us judges.
You bet. Right. Okay. So I'm trying to do multiple things at once here. So loads of people saying, hang on, if it was 500 votes and there was only 0.2%, is that only one vote in it? Loads of people doing the maths. Right. Okay. I've been sent the name. I've got that person's Skype handle up and ready. No one knows who this is, right? So all the finalists are just sat there. So this is how this is going to work. I'm going to change to Skype mode. Yeah, perfect. All right, and I'm going to ring the person and let's cross our fingers and see what happens.
Hello.
Hello, Rebecca Ellis. Hello.
Hello.
Rebecca, you are the FameLab UK 2020 audience favourite.
Oh, wow.
How does that make you feel?
I'm going to need a drink that's a bit more than water, Greg.
Sure. All right. So here's the thing. We always say you get a cheque for the prize money. Realistically, it'll be a bank transfer. But regardless, £1,000 coming your way to spend on something to advance your science communication interests and skills. Any ideas what that's going to be on?
Well, my dad says when we next meet up after the lockdown, it's my round. So I think probably that first.
Right.
And then I'll work it out from there.
That's celebrating the science communication. I'll just about allow it. And then as long as the rest goes on something sci-commy, we'll let you off. Yours was an absolutely fascinating presentation, quite a different presentation. How long did it take you to write it and develop it?
The first couple of poems took only a few days to write, but this last one was an effort of love. I wanted to make sure that I represented all members of the autistic community appropriately. And also when you're developing a poem, you kind of want to do those catchy phrases, but seeing as my poem was on fake news, I had to avoid doing that, but also try and make it entertaining. So it took a while.
Well, you did a fantastic balance, and of course, everyone voting absolutely loved it. Last question from me then, Rebecca, is what's next for you? What's next for you with research? What's next for you with career or with science communication?
Well, I'm hoping to continue science communication because I've absolutely fallen in love with it. FameLab has been amazing to do. In terms of research, I'm just hoping to keep going on my questionnaire that's available on Twitter. And I'm hoping to get people in on that and to keep going with my second year.
All right. Well, best of luck. I can't wait to see where else your science communication career takes you. We thoroughly enjoyed that. It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you.
And au revoir. Goodbye, goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, gosh. It worked. Yes. Live calling someone. All those finalists sat there right now. We're just clarifying. Yes, it was 500 votes. Lots of people are watching in groups, right? So it's one vote per person. So congratulations. Lots of people saying congrats, Rebecca, from all over the world. And it's now time to reveal the FameLab UK 2020 runner-up. Now, before I do this, let's just have a little listen to what the judges thought of this talk. So what did the judges think of the FameLab UK 2020 runner-ups talk? Here we go.
Our runner-up really blew us away with perfectly pitching their presentation. A very confident delivery that used exceptional analogies, humour, and content that we could all relate to. So very well done.
Okay, so there's a little tease, and I can tell you that, hang on, let's have a drum roll. Let's make it a bit dramatic. The winner of FameLab UK 2020, the runner-up is Annie Howitt. Annie, well done, Annie. Congratulations. You will receive £1,000 to put towards something psychommy. So congratulations, Annie Howitt, the FameLab UK 2020 runner-up, as chosen by the judges. Right, which means now it is time to reveal who is the FameLab UK 2020 champion. First, here is what the judges thought of this talk. Over to Dallas.
Well, it did the job, which is the most important job of FameLab, which is about making an authentic connection with the audience. Now, everybody did that, but this one particularly really just kind of drilled home. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, both in content, the clarity, and also imagination. I haven't seen a talk like this before, so it really, really stood out.
Right, well, there's a clue. I have just been sent the name of the winner. Yep, okay, all right. So I am now going to Skype the winner. So I am Skyping the FameLab UK 2020 champion. So let's get down to Skype. Let's get rid of that. Let's put this up. Let's make sure I'm ringing. That's it. Okay, here we go.
Hi again.
Hello again, Rebecca. Rebecca, you won FameLab UK 2020. You are the judges' champion. You are the champion of FameLab UK 2020. I think that reaction says it all. The audience voted for you and the judges chose you as their champion. Congratulations. That just shows you we were all really moved by your spoken word. Are you all right?
Yeah, this is just going to take a minute.
Yeah, I thought it would. Congratulations. That is absolutely amazing news. Lots of people have talked about the community, the FameLab community, how everyone kind of made friends. They talk on WhatsApp. And then tell us a little bit about that experience of being part of FameLab.
FameLab's been amazing. All the people that I've met, all the other science communicators, all the masterclass teachers and everyone that coached us through at Swansea University have been so positive and uplifting and optimistic, and they've really brought us to a point where even with lockdown we still felt like we were together.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
one of the hardest things to accomplish.
Yeah, it really is, and it's been wonderful for me as well to meet you all and see, you kind of as a team, as a little family. So that's been great. So you've won the audience vote and the UK 2020 championship, which means you'll receive another £2,000 to put towards advancing your science communication interests, and you'll also represent the UK at the FameLab International Final later this year with some other fantastic performers. How do you feel about that?
I'm so excited to represent everybody. I really hope I do well.
Well, look, just do what you did before, even a smidgen of that. It was so moving and it was packed full of really interesting information. So from myself and everyone watching and the judges, thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you to all my friends and family who have been super supportive, and for the votes. And I'm so happy. I'm going to get 2 drinks.
All right, Rebecca, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Oh, hang on, Rebecca. Hang on. Okay. Because we normally have pyrotechnics, right? But it's just me in my spare room by myself. So I've stuck together loads of party poppers. Right, you ready?
Okay.
FameLab UK 2020 champion, Rebecca Lewis. It's gone all over my laptop.
Yeah, that kind of worked, yeah.
See you, Rebecca. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Bye. Oh, gosh. All right, back to me. Oh, my laptop is covered in party poppers. Wow, what an evening. That just means I need to say a huge thank you, of course, and well done to all of the finalists tonight. Seriously, you did yourself proud. You did FameLab proud. You did UK proud. Absolutely amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. All of you finalists will get to go to Cheltenham Science Festival 2021 for the week. You'll have a whole schedule of events to network, to make contacts, and to improve your SciComm skills even further. That pretty much wraps up the FameLab UK 2020 final. Before I do go, though, two things that I need to say, if I can get to my computer through all this. Two things I need to say. One, if you've enjoyed this event, I've been asked to ask you if you would consider making a donation. Here is the crowdfunder information, crowdfunder.co.uk/Chelt SciFest at home to make a donation. Cheltenham Festivals needs your support to allow them to continue their works with schools and with communities. However big or small, your donation will really make a huge difference. Second thing then, just a bunch of thank yous, if you will permit this. I think we should say a huge thank you to our judges, Dr. Jess Barker, Dallas Campbell and Dr. Marieke Navin. To the whole FameLab team as well. Thank you so much, especially to the brilliant Elspeth Kenny that's been leading everything. To Hugh James for the masterclasses, to Jamie Gallagher for helping with the pre-records, and Dale Campbell as well for the edits. And of course, thank you to the whole team putting on Cheltenham Science Festival at home this week. Well done. It's super, super impressive. Final thoughts. I love all the lovely comments in the live chat. Everyone's saying congratulations. Joe is saying congratulations. Amy, Matthew, Ali, thanks for the kind words as well. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, my name is Greg Foote. I'm a science broadcaster. It's on TV and radio and YouTube and podcasts. It's been a genuine pleasure doing this for you. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Lots more going on as part of Cheltenham Science Festival at home. So do take a look at the schedule. I've got a daily event at 2:00 where we're looking at some of the targets that can transform the world. So come and join as part of that. See you very soon. I hope it's just time for me to say goodnight. Let's put some music on. Bye everyone. Thanks so much. Good night.